This is BMI Redefined with Jen and Mo.
All right. Let's do this.
Let's do this. Welcome back to BMI Redefined with
Jen
and Mo. We're so glad to have you back. Thank you for always coming back and listening. We are just so thankful and blessed that everyone is here today, and we get two fabulous life coaches to interview today. And I don't know when I've seen two life coaches interviewed and one interview, but that's pretty cool. So we're pretty fortunate, right, Jen?
Oh yeah, so
right.
Blessed.
And right. And Jen, you want to introduce life coach below you, Monica?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. Monica Orban is with us today here on this Zoom podcast. She has an undergrad in music education, a master's in education, and she has earned her coaching certification. Her job and her business is helping people find their inner harmony. Welcome, Monica.
Thank you.
And welcome to Derlene Hirtz. She is an NLP coach and trainer. She is a keynote speaker in individual and group coaching. She does integrated timeline therapy, and she graduated from Lindenwood University. And we are so happy to have you with us, Derlene. Derlene has also written 2 books. Derlene, could you please tell us a little bit about those books?
So my first book is called Journey of Intention, Life Made to Order. And that is really a very positive outlook, talking about the journey that I chose to go on. I will call it a dark journey, right? When I really started answering the negative talk that was going on in my head. And I started journaling it and then turned it into a book with the hopes that it would help one woman say, she can do it, I can do it. And the last week we published a book called Fearless and Fabulous. And it is a book of 17 authors, women who chose to become fearless in their pursuit after midlife, in their pursuit of life. And of course, that's what makes them fabulous, right? So it had been on my goal list, on my personal goal list to do this. And I was talking to the publisher, Kathy Davis, and she's like, why don't you let me take that on, since that's what I do? And I'm like, it's yours. And we went bestseller, #1 bestseller on 6 different platforms on the Tuesday. And the next day we hit #1 bestseller internationally on 4 different platforms. So it was super, super cool. Just amazing to be a part of something so cool.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Good. Okay. So Derlene and Monica, welcome. And we're so excited to have you on. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your time. We know you're super busy. So, okay. Who would like to start? Jen, do you want to ask first question?
Yeah, we were kind of wondering about some perspectives, since we talk about perceptions and perspectives on our interviews. And we would like to kind of learn more about what are people learning about themselves during such as this pandemic that we're all experiencing right now. So are people learning more about what makes them tick during this crisis? What have you found?
So I will share with you what I have found is that people have the same opportunity today that they had 2 months ago. They are spending a lot more time alone with themselves. However, it is a matter of, for me, it is a matter of being open to that. So first of all, the whole term perspective to me is understanding exactly that we have our perspective based on our the door that we walk through, the wisdom that we've attained, the experience that we've attained through life. And so that's what equals my perspective, right? Monica's perspective on life is different. Your perspective, Mo's perspective is different, all because we have different life experiences or life situations or life period. And so once we can really sit back and honor ourselves and say, okay, I've had this perspective of a negative mindset, say, and I'm tired of it. I mean, that's my story, right? One day I was like, I'm tired of showing up as this happy-go-lucky person and inside I'm just imploding and dying, I'm done. And so then, as I always say, choice is a powerful thing. Suffering is always optional. I made the choice to shift my perspective. And that's what every person that is sitting at home gets the choice to make is, do you choose to stay where you are and have those amazing pity parties, which, by the way, nobody ever shows up to, or
Yeah, nobody comes to mind.
no,
Mine either.
never came to mind either. Or do we make the choice to pull up our bootstraps and really start falling in love with ourselves again?
Yeah, I totally agree, Derlene. It's all, you were speaking about perspective, and there's always two sides to the coin. It's growth, or you're just going to stay where you are, and it'll be stagnant. I think at some point we just, like you said, we get just so tired of all of the stuff, and we just surrender and realize that, okay, I'm going to make a change. How do I want to do this going forward?
Yeah.
Stop looking in that rear view mirror.
You're right. Exactly. Yep. As I always say, our past doesn't define us, it creates us. And that's if we make the choice to allow that, right?
Exactly.
Cool. Yeah. Well, those are good answers.
Very insightful. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you, ladies. Do you believe that people have the ability to pivot during challenging times and actually better connect with one's evolving character and values, and to possibly find one's purpose and become who one wants to be?
Well, I would like to expand on that, if you all don't mind. I know that my personal story, I went through my own corona about 10 years ago with my life story, and I went through a divorce. And everybody who knows me knows that I wanted to move back home. We're here in the St. Louis area, and back home was Indiana. And I just wanted to move back home. But because I was a stay-at-home mom, and because my children's father is located here, I was told I had to stay here. So I automatically, if I can use that word, I went into quarantine, because that's where I was mentally. I didn't want to be here. And I was kicking and screaming and struggling with this whole thing. And finally, I realized, I got to that point that Derlene was saying, I was ready to surrender, and basically I had to start practicing gratitude and looking around and seeing what there was happening that was good in my life. And then from there, that led me to, support groups and different things like that, that ultimately ended up in my whole mindset and my whole outlook changing.
That's fabulous. I love the word pivot, because that is what we need to do. And actually, if Monica and I did not believe that, we would not be calling ourselves coaches for sure, because we absolutely believe. And the reason why we do what we do normally is because we've had some kind of experience. Almost every coach that I know has had some kind of experience. We were talking about this earlier, Monica and I were, about that you cannot move forward without having something to push you forward.
Mm-hmm.
If people who live a complacent life, that's perfect for them if that's what they choose.
Mm-hmm.
And if they have an experience that they don't allow them to move forward to. And, we were talking about how we learn our lessons from those, that what I say, positive in nature and only about you, those are the lessons that you learn so you can then move forward.
Exactly.
So absolutely you can pivot. And when you recognize, so I'm all about so NLP is neuro-linguistics programming. So it's the science and study of human excellence. So I'm all about the science of the unconscious mind. And when you know that generally 80% of your thoughts a day are negative, and 95% of those are repetitive.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what neuroscience teaches us. And so if that's true, and we know that, so I always say knowledge is power, but it's really only power when it's put into action. So when you make a choice to do something about that, right, to really shift your neurology, then that's where you can make those permanent pivots.
And I would just like to add something. I know this is this is what I do. I add little things like this. So my stepson had his spelling test today. And do you know what one of the words was?
Pivot.
Pivotal. And I just happen to have the definition right here. It says of crucial importance in relation to the development or success of something else. I mean, how perfect is that?
Very definitely.
So,
Well, like Derlene and I just said this morning, we were talking, we wouldn't be here. And I know I'm repeating what you already said a few minutes ago, but we wouldn't be here. That pivot existed because of what we went through, and we embraced it. We were willing to embrace it.
Yep. Yep. And what was really crazy for me, it wasn't a divorce. It was literally, I was shaming myself for having a great life. I was shaming myself for not having these complexities. And so I was just digging my hole deeper and deeper, where it damaged, not damaged, but where I was doubting my self-worth. I was doubting my integrity. I was showing up as a people pleaser and not as the authentic Derlene, who I had kind of lost along the way because of that whole need to please ideology. So you're exactly right.
Well, that makes me think of some conversations that Monica and I have had lately, because I do have that trait of trying to be a people pleaser a lot of the time. And yeah, and you have things happen in your life when you realize, you just wake up one morning and says, I can't make everybody happy. I can't please everybody. So what am I going to do for me? And that's kind of where it's been a journey. It has, but she and I have had a number of conversations about that very topic.
Yeah. And I think that there are so many reasons why. Okay, so let's just talk women, right? Women especially fall into that cycle. I mean, I think there's so many reasons why that happens. And one of the things that I've discovered is that we are always encouraged to put others first. Like I would tell you, even in my faith, it was service above self, right? And what happens is that for me, it became my go-to. Oh, well, I can't make this about me. I have to make this about somebody else. Reality is, if you don't show up first for yourself, you cannot be authentic in helping someone else, because all you're doing is going through the motions. And I tell you this as a former Catholic school teacher and religious education director. So that is some of the things that I've discovered about myself, is that, when you say service above self, you have to put yourself first. But we have to understand that that's not selfish, that that's love, right?
It's just like when you go on a trip and you're flying, you put the face mask on yourself first. And that leads me into all, some self-care tips that I feel like I'm constantly sharing, besides that mask, putting that on yourself, make sure you're getting the sleep that you need. Make sure you have some grounding exercises, prayer, gratitude, journaling. Music is a big self-care healing tool, especially for me. I don't know, Derlene, what do you share with as far as self-care?
Well, I think you're right on the money. I was sitting here thinking that last Thursday, I was done. I was absolutely done. I have worked longer and harder since the pandemic than I have in the 5 years previous to this, just creating opportunities for people to get out of their stuff, right? Thursday, I finished a call at 1:30 or 2:30. I said, I'm done. I grabbed a blanket, I grabbed water, I grabbed some nuts, and I just drove around. I wasn't really sure where I was going to go, but I needed to ground myself in the earth. And I ended up at Bush Wildlife, found a space, and I just sat there and I just meditated for an hour and a half. And it just felt so good.
Yeah.
And
it's interesting that you bring that up, because I like to go out and walk. Jenny and I have done a lot of walking and talking.
Yes.
And, even if you're aware and paying attention, nature, spirit gives you so many opportunities to receive messages. And I know this might sound kind of goofy or strange, but I cannot tell you how many times when I've gone out on a walk and I see turtles, And so finally I decided I was going to look up the meaning of turtles and think about the turtle and the hare parable, and slow and steady wins the race. And I was like, oh, you have to beat me in the head with a turtle and I'll finally get that. And then at the end of my walk, just yesterday this happened, I took a picture of this turtle on my path. And then when I returned and came to the end of my walk, there were 2 awesome messages that somehow I missed on the way down that somebody had written in sidewalk chalk. One said, let faith win. And the second message said, Jesus loves you. So I was like, wow. I mean, you have to be open to seeing and, being aware of those signs as well.
100%. I always see cardinals, red cardinals on my bike rides. And as a matter of fact, the first couple of times I went out, I didn't see them this year. And I was like, where's my cardinals? And yesterday I saw 2, and so I believe that we have spirit animals. I think we have particular animals that our souls are attached to. And it sounds like a turtle is yours. That's really cool. I love it.
Well, it's been funny when we've lived here, gosh, it's all about 9 years now, but we used to live in Cincinnati and then Richmond, Virginia before that. And birds you say the cardinals, a lot of times it's a robin. And interestingly, in Cincinnati, in our guest room window, there would be this robin that would just peck on the window all the time. It was really funny, about every other day for about the springtime. Well, the other day there was one pecking on my bathroom window. And it's frosted. You can't see in or out, but I could kind of see the outline. And then I looked outside, and it was a little robin, and he was just pecking on the window. And it was a day when I had a really big decision, and I had what's the next step? How am I going to pivot on this whole journey of being a personal trainer and all that? And I thought, okay, it made me stop and just look up for a moment and go, okay, you got my back. I know, God, I know you're here. And so let's just figure this out. But it does take that little peck, if you will, to make us stop, just to make us stop that whole mind churning that was going on, just to stop for a second. And I think a lot of people miss those indicators. Mm-hmm. And I know I miss them all the time, but that one caught my attention.
So it would be really fun, if you want to have a little more fun after having that robin peck at you, is Google spirit animal robin. And just see what that says. And sometimes they're really, really, really cool messages.
That's really neat.
Fun.
Yeah. I don't think I have a spirit animal.
Oh.
Probably a cougar. No, I'm teasing.
Hey, nothing wrong with a cougar or lion or tiger.
I'm a sunflower.
No. Yes.
No.
And the puppy dogs.
That's my spirit animal. My 2 dachshund babies.
Loyal.
Barking right now, and who are driving me nuts.
Think about.
Sorry if you can hear them, everybody. But anyway, we'll figure it out.
The dogs are always loyal and always happy to see you.
And right. They're always happy. They're always happy. That's right. Okay. So what are some ways for let's see. Sorry, let me go back to this one. What advice would you share on taking, opportunity and time to try something new, professionally or personally? Because this is what I'm going through. So I'm wondering, what's some advice you can give us on that?
So I would say that if you are seeking a new purpose, is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. So seeking a new purpose is to really look at what gets you out of bed in the morning. What is that? What is it, the one thing other than coffee that you'll get out of bed for? Because I know you, Mo. Yeah, exactly. And this is a wonderful time to allow yourself to dream. This is I have created almost an entire different coaching program in our time. And we say things like, and maybe it's only me, but how many times in the last year I've said, oh, if I only had more time, blah, 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 blah. Now, I did not cause this pandemic. Please understand that. But when you ask the universe for this gift and it happens to fall in your lap, and you have to pivot, right? Our audience looks different as coaches now, right? The income of our clients looks different almost overall, generally speaking, all of that. So we are called to pivot. However, when you ask, it's sort of like, be careful what you ask for. Yeah. But truly, that falling in my lap has allowed me to step back, to get on my bike, to address my nutrition, I too have a virtual trainer now that I thought that I was never going to do that. I had to be in the gym and surround myself with that energy. I love it. I love it.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to train people virtually. Yeah.
And I think I'm kind of sweating a little bit more than I did in the gym.
Good.
So it's just, all of those, because I'm a person who has really trained my brain to default to a positive mindset, that I just keep seeing these beautiful blessings that I was wishing that I had made a list of every person that I have met since, let's just say March 15th, every new person, because I think that has outweighed probably more people than I had met in the previous 4 or 5 months, because I'm diligent about it. I'm like right now, Jen and Monica, right now, you guys, right? Add it to the list. And so we're giving these opportunities. And when we really start searching for our purpose, what makes us get out of bed, right? What makes us do that? And then find a place that allows your mind to do that. We were talking earlier before you jumped on, Mo, about my bike is my dream time. Jen is, hers was drying your hair.
Yeah.
And I see that. You have a lot of hair. That makes perfect sense to me. You have no choice.
It takes a while. Yeah.
You have no choice in that moment.
Right.
Than to do the routine.
That's all I can do.
Mind.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah. And I think I would say about 2 years ago, I was teaching elementary school for a while, and I've taught college, preschool, elementary school. I've done the whole gamut. And about 2 years ago, I was like, you know what? I just need a change. I need to do something else. I don't know what it is. I have no idea what it is, and I don't even know where I heard this before, but you have to close a door in order to allow another door to open. And I just felt that. And my family thought I was crazy, and they still do, but that's neither here nor there. But they thought I was crazy, thinking, why are you quitting a job? You don't have a job to go to. And I'm like, you know what? I'll figure it out. I always land on my feet somehow. And I quit my job. I started a personal studio, which has gotten me through, thank goodness. And I love my students. I mean, I just reconnected with them after not doing anything for a month virtually. And it was just so much fun seeing them again on the screen. And they're like, hey, Dr. C, what's going on? And I'm like, oh, just teaching virtually. And they're my heart. I had to kind of step away from that too, to figure out what I really loved. And, and then what gets me up in the morning is actually doing this podcast. Zoomcast or whatever cast you want to call it, but it is so much fun. You all and Jen gives me the energy to do that. And we're doing like a virtual workout thing coming up.
Oh yeah.
She roped me into that. But anyway, I'll let you know all about that later. It's like, this is the expert. And then, and if you're having any issues or problems, just look at Mo.
I did not see that.
Wait a minute. This is Jen. And then this is me.
That's okay.
It's going to be fun.
So my pivot is trying everything new.
Do you know what I think is really important, Mo, is you just reminded me of this, is that because we know each other from the teaching experience.
Right.
That's where I met Mo at. And to move on is awesome. However, what if you would literally turn around and face the past and say, thank you. Thank you for every lesson. And every lesson offers a good learning, positive in nature, only about you. It might not seem like it at the time.
Right.
But there's a lot of truth in that. There is truth in that. But to literally turn around and say, thank you for this foundation. Thank you for the opportunities it afforded me. And I'm blessed by this. And now I'm going to take all those gifts.
And be grateful and
Oh,
be
100%.
gracious and gratitude and everything for everything that's been bestowed. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's the bottom line is gratitude. This is an awesome time, a perfect opportunity to quote unquote reset, if you want to look at it that way, no matter if you stay in your current career or if you don't. I mean, I think it's just a loud call that we all needed to slow down. And I want to go back to something that you said, Derlene, a few minutes ago about you have just trained your mind to be positive, positive thoughts. And I think that I like to think of that a lot like personal training. Life coaching is a lot like personal training for your mind.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to share that.
Yep, I agree 100%. We train every other muscle, right? We train every other muscle in our body. And yet our mindset, which is created literally 0 to 7 as our imprint years, that's where we set in place how we handle all of our emotions,
Right.
depending on what was mentored during that time, right? And so, and most of the world never, ever, ever addresses that again, 97%, right?
No.
And so that means, actually that means job security for us, Monica.
Yeah.
Side note. But what that really does mean is that we are making decisions every day based on a 7-year-old mindset.
Huh.
And that alone is pretty scary. But that is the reality of mindset.
Yeah, and once people are made aware of that, then the aha moment kicks in and they realize, wow, I do have the power.
Yeah.
Instead of blaming and making up excuses, and just break the mold. Let's go. Let's move forward. Let's break that mold.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always say,
I'm
sorry.
go ahead.
Aware. So aware, we are aware of it, and then acknowledge it, right? There's a bit of humility there. And then we move on. For me, it's aware, acknowledge, and then action. So that's where choice is a powerful thing. Suffering is always optional, steps in. That's part of my coaching conversation. And if that's true, then we can choose to stay, or we can and have those pity parties, or we can choose to move on.
And I know so many people who get stuck in the humility stage because they feel like they're giving, to others and everything. And it's good to have humility, of course. I really believe that. However, you need to move forward and be humble enough to realize that you have gifts to share with others.
Yeah. We all have stories, and we all have the opportunity to be a lighthouse for someone.
Right.
And we need to get out there and share our stories.
Yeah. And not be afraid.
Yeah. I loved that you used lighthouse, Monica. That was always my, when I started this process, that beacon, just that light coming around, hope, direction. Yeah.
You're finding the direction in the storm, really.
We lost you, Jen.
There? Okay. Yeah, finding that direction in the storm. I mean, the whole basis for a lighthouse in the first place.
Yeah.
Its true purpose.
It's a beautiful visual.
Yes. We have the window washers here.
Nice.
The dogs are going nuts.
And they're
I
working.
apologize.
That's great. Nope, they're working.
This is real life, people.
It
right
is.
Here.
Reality.
Right here. This is my pivotal moment.
Let it be what it is. I have met more cats and more dogs in the last, 6 weeks than I have ever met in my life.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, then, and going and working out virtually, doing workouts with clients, you know, it's whatever's going on. I mean, I work with gym guys anyway, so we would go into clients' homes and community centers and that kind of thing. But just being right there, you know, and the kids are all home from school and everything is just, it's so real. It's so cool though, you know, to really see life as it's happening in real time. Yeah.
I think a lot of families are discovering who they are for the first time, because they're not, I'm going to be very interested to see, I'm super curious to see how the reset after this works. As far as, are we going to be running to soccer practice 6 nights a week? Are we going to be, you know, blah, 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 blah? Or have we learned in this time that a family actually does things together? We don't, I always say that, you know, one of my, probably my biggest thing that I acknowledge is that I would prefer to have been in the canoe floating down the river with my kids as opposed to on the sidelines cheering them on. That would be that's always what I tell parents. Just think about sitting in a canoe with them and floating down with them as opposed to calling it family time when you're cheering them on.
Yeah. That's very good. Yeah. Very good.
So what do you think would be some final tips for our viewers and listeners as far as moving ahead throughout this pandemic and then beyond, as you were just talking about, Derlene? Any tips you'd like to share?
I would, you know, the coach in me would just start asking questions. Like, what do you want to do? Who do you see yourself being? Where do you want to be? Do you want a different life? Do you want to, you know, all those kinds of questions is what I would start asking.
Right. I agree. And I would also, you know, the whole idea that how you do some things, you do all things, right? And so what you're doing now is going to show up in 1 month, 6 months, 8 weeks, whatever. So what are you doing now that is going to allow that future to happen, if you will? So I say, get up, suit up, show up, right? Every day. Even if I'm not having a Zoom, the makeup's on, at least the waist up is on. Well, wait, I do have something on the bottom.
She's a special coach.
Special. But,
say yes to the dress.
But it's really been jeans and leggings as opposed to dress. I usually have dress black pants on. But just really, like Monica said, you know, what's the purpose of you sitting on your butt all day? What's the purpose of that? You know, what's the purpose of you not allowing yourself to dream at this time? Or what's the purpose of allowing yourself to dream? That's an even better question. You know, asking those questions. I think that Monica's exactly right. As coaches, that's what we do, right? We ask those questions and then do a little pushback, right, Monica?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think that just in the short time that I've known Monica, I probably can speak for both of us that we have taken all the lessons of our history up until this point, and we are making the world better because we're vulnerable in allowing ourselves to share that, and then that shows up in our coaching.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we're very blessed.
I think situations like this are uncomfortable because we're so busy and we find things to distract ourselves or to numb these feelings. And so this whole thing has slowed everything down and made us realize how uncomfortable or comfortable we are with ourselves. And so it's just a great opportunity to ask yourself these questions.
Right. And I'm so glad that you said that, Monica, because that's so true. Because once again, choice is a powerful thing. Suffering is always optional. And as you ask yourself those questions, for me, actually truly becoming curious about the answers as opposed to masking them. And then we start masking them with what? Alcohol or medicine or whatever. And I am in no way, I am not a doctor, I am not a therapist, I am in no way saying that you should not be taking medicine. That's up to them. But what I do know is that when we do not address I call it the itty bitty shitty committee, when we do not address that, we start feeding our neurology over and over again with negativity or with anxiety or with depression, you name it. And science shows us this, that one day we're incapable of not functioning on the level that as a woman of God, that we're called to do. So.
Yeah, I agree. There's another term someone used in one of my meetings recently, the stop driving the BMW, which is an acronym for the Bitch, Moan, and Whine Club.
May I borrow that, please?
I love that.
I love it.
Oh my gosh, that's so true. Yeah, because you know what happens? All of a sudden you look around one day and nobody wants to hang out with you.
No,
Nobody.
because you're crabby.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I always
That's
talk about
funny.
that. We have this concentric circle, right? So Jim Rohn, what does he tell us? Our success, the 5 people we surround ourselves with defines our, equals us.
Right.
So who are those 5 people? I was listening to a podcast last night and I was like, come on, get to it. And they never did. But, we have to have a friend. We have to have a peer. We have to have a coach. Okay. How many coaches did Michael Phelps have? 14 coaches to make him that good.
That's a lot.
Somebody else have his talent? Yeah. What made him different? He invested in himself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have, let's see, a cheerleader, a coach, a peer, a friend, and, oh Lord, what's the 5th one? I'll let you know before you publish this and you can add it in the comments. It's not
Okay.
But so it's really who are those people, right? We want those people that's going to cheer us on. We want those people who are going to call us on our stuff.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. Absolutely. And we
Claire,
need
you have
those
any
people
other-
in our lives to function. We can't do it on our own. We
Right.
think we can. And I think that's where we get into trouble, when we don't reach out and ask for help and ask for others to help us along.
Yeah, we're human.
And I'm going to cry because I've been there.
Yeah.
And I finally, I think in these 2 years, have reached out to different people to say, okay, I'm ready to move forward, but I need guidance.
Yeah.
And I need help. And I need you to help me get there. And it's been life-changing.
My chapter in that book, Fearless and Fabulous, is called My Moment of Surrender.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what being humbled. Because part of what I used to do was shame myself as, oh my God, you were smart. You've got a great job. You've got a great family. I mean, I could go on with the list, but shame on you for not feeling amazing. Shame on you for showing up inauthentic. So then I would just build myself up and then shame myself and build myself up and shame myself. And
Yeah.
it doesn't work like that.
Nope.
That's exhausting.
Oh,
Not sustainable. Mm.
no. And that's where you get into trouble with the eating and the drinking and the taking on different medications or whatever, sleeping aids to help get you through, because it's become so exhausting. You're like, okay, how am I going to get through this? Oh, some wine or, a piece of cake or, oh, I'll take a Tylenol PM. That's harmless, but you add that up, and it can become very detrimental.
Shopping.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said, shopping.
Yeah, right.
One day I said to my husband, I go, so when you see me in a new outfit every 2 weeks, for 2 weeks I have a new outfit on, you should probably say, hey, what's going on, girl?
Right.
That's what I was doing was, so I'll just go shopping, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, any kind of addiction to help fill that need.
And all that's sitting there, that need is all that's sitting there is become curious.
Self-love.
Mm-hmm.
Self-love and reaching out.
Yeah, we are here for connection. We're human beings. That's what we're wired for.
And haven't we learned that in this time?
Another gift.
The funny thing is my word of the year is connection. And at the beginning of the year when I picked that word, I had no idea how it was going to change.
Wow.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a divine moment right there,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Right.
Because I think we all are feeling the so obviously I'm an extrovert, and to not walk up to someone and give them a hug is is a new for me, right? And it's going to be very interesting because we know as educators, we know this, and perhaps you guys do too, the psychological impact of non-connectedness to human touch is a real problem. And I was thinking about that today, that
Yes.
even the children who have been born since COVID, who have not had the physical touch of grandma, of auntie, I mean, that just like makes me want to cry
Yeah.
because I'm a grandma, and I just went for 6 weeks without seeing those girls or hugging them. And oh, it just broke my heart, but when you're in that nurturing stage and they aren't experiencing that, different. Be a great study in about 10 years.
Yeah.
A lot is going to be a great study in 10 years.
Yes. So one of the things that I've always said is that as an educator, that I said that when education becomes a privilege in this country instead of a right in this country, that will change the pendulum.
Yeah.
And I witnessed this through, I go on mission trips to Belize and I see the difference, right?
Mhm.
And so I now believe that what's going to happen is little Johnny, who previously would come home and tell his mom that the teacher hated him and that's why he got a D,
Mhm.
she's going to say, dude, just turn yourself right around and you get back to school, because this is probably the truth, because now I know. So the teachers are going to be empowered, is my point.
Right. They're going to know. They're going to know now. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it's all going to change. And Monica, as a musician yourself, I mean, think of choirs, think of orchestras, think of that, we all perform because we're so close in contact, right? And that's going to change. I mean, I'm sure everything will come back and it'll be fine after a vaccine is found, hopefully. But for the next 1 or 2 years, it's going to be different.
Yes, it's heartbreaking.
It is.
I don't think there'll ever be that old normal again. I don't think that's possible. But I do think that with you two being musicians, seeing even on Zoom or whatever platform it is, musicians coming together and creating music from that is just amazing to me.
Mm-hmm.
That can happen. I've just caught a few snippets of it. But to know that potentially you can put a musician from England and a musician from America and a musician from Austria and get them on a Zoom and create this powerful music together.
You're right. I mean, it will create a new type of genre, I'm sure, that will come out of this. However, it's just like with anything else, and especially musicians, it's that being together and that connectedness, because it's almost like you guys, like and Monica, I'm sure you can talk to this too, but it's like a surreal feeling of making that music together and the acoustics being in the same room and just standing next to each other and hearing those sounds and how they are created. I mean, when I sing in the symphony chorus, I'm standing on Powell Hall stage and all of the singers around me, and myself included, are all making this beautiful music, and there's no one in that hall who can feel that same energy that I can in the place where I am standing.
Oh, it gives me the chills.
It's true though, right, Monica?
Yes, I was going to say I've
As
experimented.
a pianist.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
a little bit with playing for groups when on Zoom calls, and they're there, but they're not there, and so it doesn't give me the return.
Right.
What I don't know. It does, but it doesn't. You know what I mean? As far as the whole feeling and the energy and
Yeah.
what you just said. The other thing that I think is similar is dancing. I love to dance.
Yes.
Doing like virtual dance classes. Oh my, I get so frustrated because it's not the same. And these people who like salsa and cha-cha, do all these, the couples dancing. I just feel so sorry for them too.
Yeah. That's a good point.
And Jen, you with your workout sessions,
Right.
the one-on-one, I mean, when you and I are working out virtually, it's funny and fun,
Yeah.
but when we're together, we're hilarious.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Well, it is different. I mean, because, yeah, and you're always trying, and back to kind of what you're talking about, the mindset, there were many questions on the certification exam for becoming a personal trainer that were psychological questions. And really, helping people stay engaged and motivated and encouraged and all that, yet challenged. But very much of that is a psychological. So now you remove the personal contact. You're not in the same room and you're trying to read. You've got to watch their face and how's it going, and you can't take their heart rate, and things like that. So trying to really feel and experience what the client's experiencing and feeling is a lot more difficult. I mean, thank goodness for Zoom and virtual training and all that, but it is extremely different than being in the room.
I mean, my dad and my brother both live in Michigan, and me being here in Missouri, to be able to go and hug them,
Yeah, my family too.
it's tough. It's tough.
But so one of the things that I did so my dad's 83 and he's been visiting a little suite at the local hospital off and on over the last year. And so through the course of networking, I met a guy out in California who's a professional magician who has lost 100% of his income, right? And so I said to him, do you think that you can do a magic show virtually for my dad? And I did not even know, my dad's 83. I didn't even know until about 3 years ago how much he loves magic. He has never shared that with us. So he's like, yeah. And he goes, but why stop at your dad? He said, why don't you invite your whole entire family? So 2 Saturdays ago, we had my son who lives in California. He's in the Army. My daughter who lives here, my sister, my brother, my mom, and my nephew, all in Texas, all on Zoom, seeing a magic show. So
Cool.
Just another opportunity for us to share family. And I really believe, Jenny, for what you do, one of the other great gifts that's going to flow from people understanding that you can do this virtually is that, first of all, it takes away another excuse. My husband has traveled always. But what a great way for him to know now that all he has to do is take his phone with him and he can always get that workout in and especially as the future people pick up. I mean, I don't know when we're ever going to have mass gatherings again. I have no clue when that's going to happen. But in the meantime, whenever he starts traveling again, he never has to miss a workout now. And I love that. That is something that we had never addressed.
Does he love that?
Yes, he does. He does.
Okay.
Mo loves that.
I love that I can work out anytime.
That one of my great loves was in 2004. I made the choice to get physically fit, and I went back into teaching PE, and I was super strong. I was just like, my form of discipline for the junior high kids were that they had to do, if they could do more push-ups with claps in between the knee than the boys, I wouldn't address their issues, which nobody ever could. That's how strong I was. But mindset, right? Mindset and humility. Did it all for the wrong reasons, so found myself right back in that cycle again. And now I'm like, I have such an appreciation for who I am that It's a whole different ballgame, right? Mm-hmm. But it was just so funny that I was just like, oh man, that felt so good to be strong. So now saying to you what I said about my husband, that was my mirror that I held up. No excuses anymore.
That's good. I think I have a pair of socks that says that, huh, Jen?
Yeah, you do. I gave those to you.
No excuses. Get going. What's your problem? No, I'm teasing. No, they don't say that.
Don't quit. Keep moving. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
But
I have a gift for you. I'm like, what is it? What is it?
Well, I have a tank top that I wear every now and then. I haven't worn it with Mo, but it says, calories don't burn excuses.
Ooh, I like that.
I like that. That's good. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, this has been wonderful. This has been great.
It's been amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today.
And anything else, Monica or Derlene, that you would like to add to anything, or are we good?
I think we're good.
Okay, I do too. I think my dogs think it's good too. So yeah, I need to get up to them.
We just spent, an hour with the girlfriend chat. What could be better than that?
Yeah,
It was so much fun.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thanks, ladies. It was great.
Thank you so much. We really are indebted to you.
You're welcome.
So I'm going to go upstairs with my coffee and
Yes.
go see the puppies and whoever else is up there. So thank you so much, everybody. And thank you for joining in again for another episode. I think this is our 11th episode, right,
It
Jen?
is number 11.
Woo! This has been fun. So thank you so much, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you
Monica, it's
next
nice
time.
meeting you, and we are going to connect offline. We already decided.
Oh, good, good.
Great. All right.
See you next time, everybody.
See you next
Bye.
time. All right. Bye.
Bye.